Hello cricket lovers, welcome back to our channel. Today we look at the greatest batting dominations in Test history, the series where one man scored runs like a machine. These are the performances that not only broke records but also changed careers forever. 1. Don Bradman, 974 runs versus England, 1930 Ashes. Don Bradman's 1930 Ashes series is still the highest aggregate by any batsman in a single series, 974 runs in just 5 tests. He scored 2 triple centuries, including a 334 at Leeds, which stunned England and the world. At only 22 years old, Bradman became a global superstar. This series not only defined his career but also reshaped Ashes history, making Bradman a living legend. Even a century later, 974 runs in a series feels like an unbreakable peak. 2. Lara, 688 runs versus Sri Lanka, 2001-02. By the early 2000s, Lara was already a genius, but against Sri Lanka in 2001, he played almost as a lone warrior. He piled up 688 runs in just 3 tests, including a majestic 221 and a 130 in Gal. Even though West Indies lost the series, Lara's batting was unforgettable. It reminded the world of his brilliance and cemented his reputation as one of cricket's greatest entertainers. This series showed how one man could carry an entire team on his shoulders. 3. Virat Kohli, 692 runs vs Australia, 2014-15. Virat Kohli arrived in Australia with questions over his overseas form. What followed was a career-defining series, 692 runs in just 4 tests, including 4 centuries. He became the second player ever to score hundreds in both innings of a test at Adelaide. Although India lost the series, Kohli's fearless stroke play against Mitchell Johnson and the Aussie attack turned him into the leader of India's batting unit. From this point, he was no longer just a promising talent, he became King Kohli. 4. Steve Smith, 769 runs vs England, 2019 Ashes. The 2019 Ashes in England was Steve Smith's redemption story after the ball tampering scandal. Coming back under immense pressure, Smith silenced critics with 769 runs in just 4 tests. His twin hundreds at Edgbaston and that brilliant 211 at Old Trafford reminded fans of his unorthodox but unbeatable technique. Smith almost single-handedly ensured Australia retained the Ashes. That series didn't just bring runs, it restored his reputation and reminded the world of his genius. 5. Sunil Gavaskar, 774 runs versus West Indies, 1971. On debut in 1971, a young Sunil Gavaskar stunned the mighty West Indies with 774 runs in 4 tests. Facing the fearsome Caribbean bowlers, Gavaskar showed technique and temperament beyond his years. This was the series that announced India's arrival in world cricket, with their first ever Test series win in the Caribbean. For Gavaskar, it was the beginning of a legendary career. 7. Walter Hammond, 905 runs versus Australia, 1928-29 Ashes. Before Bradman, there was Wally Hammond. In the 1928-29 Ashes in Australia, Hammond scored 905 runs with style and power. His batting defined England's dominance in that series. It was a performance that established Hammond as one of the greatest batsmen of his era. Furthermore, Graham Smith, 714 runs vs England, 2003. Jack Callies, 498 runs vs India, 2010. Alastair Cook, 766 runs vs Australia, 2010-11 Ashes. Ross Taylor, 495 runs vs Australia, 2015. These series weren't just about runs, they were about careers being transformed, reputations being built, and cricketing history being written. That's why fans still remember them as stories of domination. Which series domination is your favorite? Share your thoughts below.